Okay, so imagine for a second. What if the fundamental ideas driving our most advanced AI, the smart speakers, the complex medical tools,
Yeah.
what if they didn't actually start on some whiteboard in like Silicon Valley?
Okay, intriguing. Where then?
But instead, they actually took root way, way back, like 15th century, in the mind of a philosopher, Niccolò Cusano.
Wow. Okay, that is a pretty wild connection. And for this deep dive, we've actually been digging into some fascinating sources on this,
Right.
especially work by Gerardo and Giovanni Adevan. There's stuff on Cusano's epistemology.
Yeah.
Guiding AI's dynamic future is, well, it's brilliant.
It really maps it out, doesn't it?
It does. It traces this whole idea of the relativity of knowledge from Cusano, centuries ago,
Mhm.
right up to how we're building AI today.
So that's our mission here, really, to pull out the key insights from these materials.
Exactly.
We want to show you how these like ancient philosophical critiques about knowledge not being static,
Ah.
how they're now directly shaping AI to be more adaptable, more robust, more trustworthy even.
Yeah, and you might be genuinely surprised just how deep these philosophical roots go in the systems you probably use every single day.
So let's start with the core idea. This philosopher, Cusano.
Niccolò Cusano, yeah. His big revolutionary concept was really the relativity of knowledge.
What does that mean exactly, in his terms?
Well, for him, knowledge wasn't this sort of fixed, absolute truth with a capital T that you could just, fully grasp and write down perfectly. It's
Uh-huh.
inherently relative. It's always shaped by our perspective, the context we're in, the information we actually have access to at that moment.
Okay, so it challenges that whole idea of perfect, unchanging knowledge.
Completely.
Hmm.
Which was pretty radical for the 15th century and has these huge implications for how we think about and design intelligent systems now.
Right, so let's bridge that gap. How does this, centuries-old idea actually link up to AI today? This feels like the core of it.
It really is. And this is where Kusana's thinking gets incredibly practical for AI designers. His idea that knowledge is always at the level of relativity. Right. Well, it basically demands that AI has a fluid architecture. Think about something like, say, natural language processing, or even recommendation engines.
Yeah, they're always dealing with new words, new trends, new products.
Exactly. They're constantly swimming in this rapidly evolving sea of data. If their understanding was fixed, like a dictionary printed once,
They'd be useless in weeks, outdated instantly.
pretty much. So this fluidity, this need for relativity, allows the AI to continuously adapt. It can incorporate new information, shift its understanding, and avoid becoming, well, obsolete.
That makes sense. It needs to learn on the fly.
Precisely. And broadening that out a bit, Cusano also argued against needing completeness for knowledge to be valid.
Ah, okay. So you don't need all the facts.
Right. He understood that our human grasp of things is always partial, always incomplete. And that philosophical stance, it directly allows AI systems to handle the messy reality of incomplete or, even noisy data.
So the AI doesn't just freeze up if the data isn't perfect.
Exactly. It doesn't aim for some mythical perfect data set. Instead, it uses processes like continuous system retraining. It learns to work with what it has.
So it's an approach to knowledge and epistemology
Right.
that's actually perfect for the real world, which is always dynamic and uncertain.
You've got it. It's built for change.
And it's pretty impressive how this philosophical foundation informs not just how the AI learns, but also what it learns, right? Like handling that messy data, which leads us to some really specific design principles we see today.
Indeed. Yeah, one of the clearest ways Cusano's ideas show up in AI design is this absolute necessity for dynamism.
We sort of touched on it, the constant learning.
Right. Because knowledge is fluid for Cusano,
Mm-hmm.
AI needs to be constantly able to absorb new data, adapt to changes in the outside world.
And you see that everywhere in machine learning now.
Oh, absolutely. Models that get retrained constantly on fresh data, systems that, iteratively improve their performance, they're never really done learning. It's an ongoing process.
It almost sounds organic, that constant learning. But what about when AI needs to juggle different types of knowledge? Does Cusano's philosophy have anything to say about that?
It does, actually.
Yeah.
And it's quite striking. You see it reflected in things like hybrid AI architecture,
Hybrid, meaning?
meaning they combine different approaches, and these systems, they perfectly embody Cusano's idea about the coexistence of multiple versions of knowledge simultaneously.
Okay, like what kinds of knowledge?
Well, for instance, you might combine the explicit sort of rule-based logic of what we call symbolic AI.
Like programming and facts and rules directly. like an old expert system.
Kind of, yeah. You combine that with the implicit pattern-finding skills of connectionist learning think neural networks, finding patterns in huge amounts of data without being explicitly told the rules.
Whoa, okay, so one is like learning from a textbook, the other is like learning from experience.
That's a decent analogy. And you have systems like Clarion is one example
Yeah.
that use this kind of duality. They can learn implicitly from the environment, but also use explicit symbolic reasoning for specific tasks or, crucially, handling exceptions.
So the AI can use both its head and its gut, so to speak. Gives
Yeah.
it a more rounded understanding.
Exactly. Makes it much more versatile, more
I,
robust.
I can definitely see that. And it's not just about updating knowledge or mixing types. It's also fundamentally about context, isn't it?
Huge. Yes.
I mean, think about your streaming service recommendations. They don't just know you like sci-fi.
Okay.
They might know you like intense sci-fi on a Friday night, but maybe something lighter on a Sunday morning.
Totally. The system factors in the when and why. It knows knowledge, or maybe preference in this case, is situational.
And that ability, that factoring in of context, so the AI makes predictions aligned with these dynamic demands,
Yeah.
that goes right back to Cusano.
Directly. It stems from his view of knowledge is relative to the observer, yes, but also to the environment, the situation, the time.
It has to fit the moment.
It has to fit the moment. And this naturally leads us towards maybe the most critical application area for AI today, trustworthiness.
Ah, okay. How does a 15th century idea about relative knowledge connect to making AI trustworthy? That seems like a leap.
Well, think about it. Cusano emphasized the inherent fallibility, the incompleteness of human knowledge.
Right, we can be wrong. We don't know everything.
Exactly. And if we build AI based on this understanding that its knowledge is also, by extension, potentially fallible and incomplete, it changes how we design it. Trustworthiness isn't about demanding perfection, which is impossible anyway.
So what is it about them?
It's about designing for transparency and adaptability. It's about building AI that can, in a sense, reflect on its own limitations.
Like it knows when it might be wrong.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Systems can incorporate mechanisms for what's called meta-reasoning, thinking about their own thinking, essentially.
Okay.
So they can examine their own predictions, check their confidence levels, maybe flag uncertainty, and ideally refine their accuracy based on that self-assessment.
So it's not just about getting the answer, but knowing how confident it should be in that answer and maybe why.
Precisely. And this concept, it goes even further. It leads to ideas like developing a specific trustworthiness profile for an AI.
A profile, like a personality profile.
Yeah, not quite like that. More like a technical specification of its reliability. Ferrari discussed this back in, well, 2025, apparently. This profile wouldn't just be a simple confidence score.
Okay.
It could actually outline specific reliability requirements and constraints. For instance, it might define situations where predictions from, say, a medical diagnostic AI or a financial trading algorithm should not be trusted or need human oversight.
Ah, I see. So it sets clear boundaries for its reliable use.
Exactly. And that level of transparency, that kind of built-in self-awareness about its own limits, is absolutely crucial for building trust with users, with stakeholders.
Especially for really critical applications, right? Where getting it wrong could have serious consequences, medical, financial.
Absolutely. You need to know the operational boundaries. You need that profile.
Wow. Okay. So let's just recap this talk for a second. We started with a 15th century philosopher
Niccolò Cusano.
and his seemingly abstract idea about knowledge being relative, fluid, incomplete.
Yeah.
And we've traced it right through to the core design principles of today's most advanced AI, affecting dynamism, hybrid architectures, context awareness, and even trustworthiness.
It's a pretty profound connection, isn't it? Really unexpected. His relativist view directly informs these critical aspects of modern AI. The need for fluidity, the combining of different knowledge types, the adaptation to context, the foundation for trust through acknowledging fallibility.
It really reframes how you think about AI development. It's not just engineering. There's deep philosophy baked in.
Deep philosophy that turns out to be incredibly practical.
So, okay, here's the final thought to leave you with. If our most cutting-edge AI systems, the things we're building to be intelligent, if they're now designed to embrace knowledge as fundamentally fluid, incomplete, relative,
Constantly adapting, questioning their own outputs, refining their understanding.
then what does that maybe suggest about our own human quest for knowledge? Especially now in this incredibly complex, fast-changing world flooded with information.
It's a great question.
Maybe, just maybe, the real value isn't in finding some final absolute certainty.
Hmm?
Perhaps that was never really achievable anyway, as Cusano suggested.
Perhaps it's more about the process.
Exactly. Maybe the value lies in that ongoing process of questioning, of adapting, of being willing to integrate multiple perspectives, much like these AI models are in their own way learning to do.
Learning from the limitations, embracing the relativity. Interesting.
Something to think about.